My name is Grace Ellington, and I never believed that dying could feel so peaceful. On the afternoon of October 19th, 2024, I flatlined in the middle of a hospital hallway. Heart attack, clinical death, 14 minutes gone. But in those minutes, I saw eternity. I met Jesus face to face, and he asked me 6 questions that unraveled everything I thought I knew about faith, love, and what truly matters. It began like any ordinary shift. I'd been a nurse for 20 years, proud of what I did, convinced I was serving God through my work. The hospital buzzed with its usual chaos, machines beeping, phones ringing, families crying in waiting rooms. Around 2 in the afternoon, a sharp pain gripped my chest. I told myself it was indigestion, that I just needed a moment to breathe. But the pain spread down my left arm, the classic sign I'd seen in patients countless times. This can't be happening to me, I thought. But my knees buckled before I could call for help. I remember reaching for the wall, and then silence. No pain, no noise, just stillness. When I opened my eyes, I was standing above my own body. Nurses were shouting, one of them crying out for the crash cart. I could see my friend Melissa pressing her hands on my chest, shouting my name, but it all felt so far away. I should have been terrified, but peace wrapped around me like a blanket. I felt myself being pulled upward, gently, irresistibly, into a space beyond space. It's impossible to describe with human words. There were no walls, no floor, no sky. It was as if I were floating in light and music. Though I heard no instruments, everything shimmered with life. Then, out of that light, he appeared. Jesus, he was not the image I grew up seeing in stained glass or paintings. He was pure, living light, warm, golden, alive. The radiance surrounding him didn't blind me, it drew me in. His eyes held the kind of love that could see through every lie, every mask, every wound, and still call me beloved. The moment our eyes met, I knew he knew everything. My sins, my doubts, my hidden shame, my secret pride. Yet there was no condemnation, only love so vast it broke me open. He didn't speak with words. His voice resonated inside my being, like truth vibrating through my soul. Grace, welcome home. Be still and know that I am God. I had read Psalm 46, 100 times, but now, for the first time, I understood. Time didn't exist there. I could have stood in that love forever. But then, Jesus looked at me with deep tenderness and said, I have questions for you, my daughter. Questions I ask every soul, not to condemn, but to awaken. And then came the first one. Did you let me love you? I thought I had. I went to church every Sunday. I prayed, read the Bible, volunteered, tithed. I tried to be a good Christian, but as he showed me scenes from my life, I realized how wrong I'd been. I saw myself praying hurriedly before work, rattling off requests like a shopping list. I asked for wisdom, protection, patience, but I never stopped to listen. My prayers were one-way conversations. He showed me the times I begged for forgiveness, but clung to my guilt as if I had to earn his mercy. There was a moment 6 months before my death when I'd made a dangerous medication error. Another nurse caught it before harm was done, but I carried the guilt for weeks. Jesus showed me that moment again. I saw him standing beside me then, his love pouring over me like a waterfall. Yet I had blocked it with shame, whispering to myself that I didn't deserve forgiveness. My child, he said, I paid the price for every mistake you would ever make. You believed in my cross with your mind, but you never let it heal your heart. Tears streamed down my face. He was right. I'd been so busy doing things for God that I never allowed myself to simply be loved by God. Then he asked the second question, Did you see me in the people around you? Images flooded before me. Patients, coworkers, family, strangers. I saw the night a homeless man came into the emergency room, reeking of alcohol and anger. had treated him politely, but inwardly judged him as a waste of resources. Jesus showed me what I couldn't see. That man's childhood, the abuse, the loneliness, the prayers he'd whispered when he didn't even believe anyone was listening. When you refused to see me in him, Jesus said, you refused me. The words pierced through me. He reminded me of Matthew 25:40. Whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me. He showed me my daughter Lily, at 15, angry, rebellious, shouting things that shattered my heart. I'd responded with discipline, not compassion. But Jesus showed me that in her anger, he had been crying out for my love. I was in her pain, he said. I was asking you to love me through her. I wept as I watched years of missed chances play out like scenes on a screen. Moments when I had chosen frustration over empathy, duty over kindness, convenience over compassion. You loved people based on how easy they were to love, he said, but I loved you when you were unlovable. That is the love I asked you to share. In that light, every mask fell away. I saw myself as I truly was, well-meaning, faithful on the surface, but blind to the living Christ in others. I fell to my knees. I failed you, I said. No, he whispered, you did not see, but now you do. And with that, he moved closer, his light flooding my soul again, preparing me for the next question, one that would cut even deeper than the rest. The light surrounding Jesus seemed to deepen, glowing like the sunrise of another world. Every particle of that place vibrated with his presence. I felt smaller and smaller, yet more alive than I'd ever been. He looked at me again, not with judgment, but with aching compassion, and spoke the third question. Did you learn to forgive? The words struck like thunder wrapped in silk. I thought of the resentment I carried, the grudges I had justified for years. The faces of people who had hurt me appeared around us. My ex-husband, who had walked out when our marriage was collapsing. My father, who'd abandoned our family when I was 10. Co-workers who had betrayed my trust. In that realm, there was no hiding. I could feel the weight of every bitterness I had held on to. It wasn't punishment, it was the natural gravity of unforgiveness. Each memory carried a chain, and I was dragging them all. Jesus reached out his hand, and suddenly I saw their stories through his eyes. My ex-husband, lost in addiction, drowning in his own shame. My father, a frightened young man who never knew how to love. Each of them was broken, wounded, just as I was. Forgiveness, Jesus said, is not saying what they did was right. It is releasing them so I can heal you. And then he asked me softly, if I have forgiven you of everything, why do you hold others captive in your heart? The question undid me. I began to cry uncontrollably. All my excuses dissolved in his mercy. Lord, I whispered, I forgive them, all of them, even myself. The chains vanished, the heaviness lifted. For the first time, I felt truly free. Then came the fourth question, a question I never expected. Did you tell others about me? At first, I wanted to say yes. I sang in the church choir, served in outreach programs, even shared Bible verses on social media. But as he revealed the truth, I realized how shallow it had been. I had spoken about God when it was safe, when people already agreed. But when faith became uncomfortable or inconvenient, I went silent. He showed me moments at work when patients asked deep questions about life and death, and I had answered with polite neutrality instead of truth. I saw friends grieving, and I'd offered them sympathy, but not hope. I had feared offending, when what they needed was salvation. You were not ashamed of me, he said, but you were afraid to speak my name where it mattered most. He wasn't angry. His tone was tender, almost sorrowful. The world does not need perfection, he said. It needs witnesses. Then he showed me something that broke me completely. Scenes of people whose lives had brushed against mine. Moments when a word of faith might have planted a seed. Some of them were gone now. I felt a sob rise in my chest. You cannot change the past. Jesus said gently, "but if I send you back, you can live differently. Speak my name boldly with love and humility. Every heartbeat is a chance to testify." I nodded, trembling. "Yes, Lord, I will." Then he asked the fifth question, one that pierced deeper than any of the others. "Did you use the gifts I gave you?" I froze. I had always thought my nursing career was my gift, and in many ways, it was. But he showed me something more. I saw my younger self, at 16, writing songs of worship in a little notebook, songs I never shared. I saw the compassion I buried under busyness, the encouragement I withheld out of insecurity. I saw how often fear had kept me small. "I placed creativity in you," Jesus said. "I gave you a voice to heal hearts, not just bodies. But you buried it under doubt. You called it humility, but it was fear." That truth burned like fire through my soul. Yet even in the pain, there was hope. He never showed me my failures without showing me his plan for redemption. "Every gift," he said, "was meant to be multiplied in love. If you return, use it. Let nothing I placed in you go to waste." And then came the final question, the one that silenced everything. "Did you learn to love? Not love as emotion, but love as a way of being. The kind that endures, serves, sacrifices." In an instant, he showed me the countless opportunities I'd missed. The rushed mornings where I brushed past my daughter's hugs, the times I'd withheld affection because of pride, the evenings I'd chosen screens over connection. "Love," he said, "is not something you say. It is what remains when everything else fades." I realized that every other question, about forgiveness, service, faith, was really about this. Love was the thread that held eternity together. I wanted to stay there forever, but then Jesus turned toward the light behind him. It began to pulse, and I felt myself being pulled backward. "Grace," he said, "your time is not yet. Go back and love well. Tell them what you've seen. Tell them I am real, I reached for him," crying out, "Please, don't let me forget this." His last words echoed like thunder and melody. "I will be with you, even until the end of the age." And then I was gasping, lungs burning, nurses shouting. The beeping of the monitor returned, sharp and frantic. I was back in my hospital bed, drenched in tears, alive. Melissa was there, holding my hand, whispering, "Grace, you're back." But I wasn't the same. In the weeks that followed, I couldn't stop crying, not from fear, but from gratitude. Every sunrise felt holy. Every person I met looked like a miracle. I found myself whispering prayers not out of habit, but out of awe. I began writing again, songs of love, grace, and surrender. I told my daughter what had happened, and we wept together. Our relationship began to heal. At church, I shared my story for the first time, trembling but bold. And as I spoke, I felt that same warmth, that same light flowing through me again. Now, whenever I face a choice, whether to love, forgive, or speak truth, I remember the 6 questions. They have become my compass. And one day, when I stand before him again, I pray my answers will be different,